Across Argentina, the morning papers are drowning in grief, sending deeply moving, emotional messages straight to Lionel Messi. Meanwhile, Lionel Scaloni is finally speaking out about his future with the national team as a legendary Spanish player weighs in on Messi. I take my hat off to him, he remains the ultimate legend. That is how Pep Guardiola reacted to seeing Messi break down after the whistle. Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Is it finally time for Messi to hang up his boots for good, or should he keep pushing? If you are a true fan, hit subscribe now. Argentina's front pages are heavy with sorrow, yet they still try to lift their shattered captain up. Pure heartbreak dominated the headlines after Argentina fell to Spain in the 2026 World Cup final, a crushing 1-0 defeat decided in the grueling final minutes of extra time. Yet, a deep wave of pride for Messi still completely dominated the post-match coverage. Journalists agreed that the captain went out on his shield, finishing his last World Cup run with absolute grace. The dream of a fourth star slipped away, and the bitter sting of this heavy defeat will certainly linger. But the papers all agreed on one key thing. At 39 years old, Messi played an incredible tournament, racking up 8 goals and 4 assists. They insisted his legacy with the national team goes far beyond any single soccer match. He truly cemented Argentina's place among the absolute titans of the sport. The famous Daily Clarín chose to focus on the deeply human side of the Argentine captain's long, historic journey. They wrote that Messi fought hard until his very last breath on the pitch, teaching an entire generation what it means to never give up, while rekindling the country's deep, passionate love for the national team. Clarín added that the sight of Messi wearing that silver medal, with tears streaming down his face right after the final whistle, will surely remain one of the most heartbreaking images in soccer history. What he put on display during this tournament only proves what we already knew. He remains one of the absolute greatest ever. Over at La Nación, the headline was deeply, profoundly touching. Tears of the captain, Messi weeps, and Argentina embraces him. Thank you, Lionel, you made us so incredibly happy. The paper noted that while the squad failed to secure another world title, they left behind a lasting legacy that will endure for years, built on the triumphs that returned Argentina to the absolute top of world soccer. Meanwhile, the Daily Cronica went with a simple, yet incredibly heavy, one-word headline, legend. They pointed out that Messi's heavy tears on the pitch, combined with the thunderous, emotional applause from the loving fans, were the absolute perfect tribute to a man who came so incredibly close to lifting his second World Cup trophy, but still walked away with his head held high. Meanwhile, the newspaper Perfil focused closely on the tactical breakdown of the match, stating that Spain dominated the game from the opening whistle to the end, while Argentina resisted as long as they possibly could before Ferran Torres finally settled the match in extra time. They also added that late injuries severely limited the tactical options for manager Lionel Scaloni, though goalkeeper Emiliano Martínez was easily the standout star of the night, keeping them alive with several incredible saves, proving that this final heartbreak does not erase the incredible tournament the Albiceleste put together. The Daily La Capital went with a deeply emotional headline, Messi's tears are the tears of an entire nation, marking the end of an era and the beginning of an eternal legend. The paper described how the Argentine captain collapsed in grief at the final whistle of his last World Cup appearance, yet he walked away to an absolutely incredible, emotional standing ovation from the crowd. A truly powerful scene that will remain etched in our memories forever. Around the country, the site El Destape described the match as an epic of pure survival until the very end, pointing out how Argentina fought incredibly bravely despite being a man down, and that Messi's post-match tears perfectly captured the sheer overwhelming magnitude of their pain. All of this unfolded just as manager Lionel Scaloni's post-match comments began raising serious, urgent questions about his own future. Scaloni is revealing his stance on staying with Argentina after this heartbreaking World Cup loss. The Argentine manager Lionel Scaloni endured an exceptionally brutal night after watching his team lose the 2026 World Cup title, powerhouse Spanish squad by a score of 1-0, before dropping some incredibly shocking and unexpected statements regarding his long-term future with the Albiceleste, sparking an immediate, massive wave of reactions. Scaloni simply could not hold back his tears during the tense press conference that followed that fierce final match, where he broke down crying right in front of the world's media, opening up about the sheer difficulty of this moment and the immense sadness he is carrying after losing the cherished trophy in those final, agonizing minutes of play. Even so, the passionate Argentine manager very bravely stood up and acknowledged the clear superiority of his opponents during that final match, stating outright that the Spanish squad was clearly the better team on the pitch at MetLife Stadium, while simultaneously expressing his immense, deep pride in the truly incredible fighting spirit and raw determination that his players passionately put on display throughout the entire grueling tournament. Scaloni. My contract with Argentina runs until the end of next December, and Scaloni dropped a massive bombshell right at the very end of his press conference, leaving the door wide open to walking away from his post. He made sure to point out that his current contract with the Argentine Football Association is wrapping up this coming December, and he admits that he has not yet settled his decision on whether to renew or just step down, satisfied with what he has built. The coach also made it clear he will hold a crucial meeting with the Federation president to hash out every single detail, openly expressing his deepest doubts about ever topping the historic achievements he already reached with this golden generation, insisting that trying to build another tight-knit, incredibly fierce squad from scratch is going to demand a truly massive physical and psychological effort from everyone involved. And Scaloni deeply emphasized the vital importance of accepting this painful defeat with true sportsmanship, declaring that his squad showed the entire world they know how to lose with dignity, just as they know how to win with pride, insisting that this incredibly bitter loss will never erase the massive amount of hard work and endless sacrifices everyone made to reach the final match of the World Cup. The manager then sent out a deeply personal message of gratitude to the Argentine fans and their supporters scattered across the globe, making it clear that his players left absolutely everything they had out on the pitch and that their relentless dedication and grit will serve as an inspiring model and a beautiful example for their people forever. Where does Scaloni really stand on staying with the Argentina national team? Fighting back tears, the manager wrapped up his speech by reiterating his desperate need to take some real time to reflect and rest before making final choices about his future, admitting to a deep, gut-wrenching sadness that tears his soul apart, while insisting he will never forget the incredible wave of support he felt throughout his historic coaching run with the national team. A Spanish legend on Messi, I take my hat off to him, he remains a legend. Spain's legendary defender, Carles Puyol, had nothing but praise for Argentine star Lionel Messi, declaring that the captain of the Albiceleste was the single biggest reason his nation even reached the final of the 2026 World Cup, despite ultimately falling short against Spain. Puyol opened up during a recent television interview, admitting that he truly believes this current Argentina squad only reached the final because of Messi. He did not want to bring up the past World Cup, but in this tournament he felt they clung to Messi entirely, and it was Leo who carried them all the way to the final. Puyol added that even though it was not quite enough to win the trophy fee, he still takes his hat off to the man and will remain eternally grateful to Leo Messi for everything he gave as a teammate, and for everything he has done for the sport, wishing him nothing but luck. Meanwhile, the powerhouse Spanish national team ended up clinching the 2026 World Cup title for the second time in their history after securing a hard-fought victory over Argentina, with a lone unanswered goal in that intense Sunday night clash at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, wrapping up the massive tournament co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. This dominant Spanish side put on an absolute masterclass throughout the entire tournament, relying heavily on their signature style of suffocating possession and total midfield control, just before locking down the global title at the expense of Lionel Messi's Argentina, proudly stitching a second golden star onto their national team crest. Pep Guardiola commented on Messi's heartbreaking tears after the final whistle blew. Guardiola admitted those tears are the one thing he will never forget from this night. Leo just sitting on the grass, face buried in his hands, crying openly without even trying to hide it. Guardiola said he has known that face since Messi was just a young kid back at Barcelona, and he knows exactly what that painful expression means. It was not just sadness over a lost trophy, it was something much deeper, the kind of pain only felt by someone who left every single ounce of their soul on the pitch and kept absolutely nothing back. And the manager wanted to start right there, with those raw tears, because they reveal more about Messi than any statistic ever could. This is a man who has won literally everything a player could ever dream of. Every trophy, every individual award, every record. He has absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone. Yet he still cried at 39 years old over a single extra-time goal. That is pure, unfiltered passion. This is a man who does not step onto the pitch to pad his resume. He plays because he loves the game with a depth that nobody else can match. Everybody knows he is the greatest. That is no longer even up for debate. People argued about it for years. And Guardiola admits he jumped into those debates himself, but this tournament has completely settled the argument. A 39-year-old man carrying an entire national team from the group stage to the final. He scored, he created, and he dominated, proving to be the most influential figure in a tournament stacked with world-class superstars playing at the absolute peak of their youth. Who can argue with this kind of heartbreak? Just a single goal scored deep in extra time. That is the tiny margin separating a legendary triumph from absolute agony. Soccer is cruel like that. It somehow condenses months of hard work and massive dreams into a single fleeting moment that you can never claw back. As a coach, I know the brutal sting of these moments. I have lived through them myself. But watching this happen specifically to Leo has a completely different feel to it. Just think about what he actually accomplished throughout this entire tournament. He carried the entire national team on his shoulders, from the opening game to the final. Scoring, creating, fighting, he rescued his squad in critical matches where going home was much more likely than staying alive. He did not let anyone down at any point during any match, yet the end came down to a tiny cruel detail totally out of his hands, in a brief moment where he had absolutely zero control. And that is what truly breaks my heart, not because Argentina lost, since Spain is an incredible team that built their success intelligently from the ground up and fully deserves everything they achieved, but because Leo deserved a different ending and soccer denied him. Let me say the most important thing, straight from the heart. I do not want this to be the end of his legend. I do not want this to be the final thing we see from him. People are talking about retirement, and I know every journey must end, but I say this with absolute sincerity. Soccer is not ready to lose him, and we are not ready either. I do not want him to retire now, not like this, and not with this final image in our minds. A player of his caliber, still giving what he gave during this World Cup, should not have tears on the pitch as his very last memory. He deserves to choose his own moment and walk away on his own terms, not have his legacy dictated by the cruel outcome of one single game. Knowing him well enough, I know his decision will come quietly, far from the noise, just like how he has lived his entire life. But I hope, as a deep lover of this game before being a coach, that he grants us just a little more time with him. Leo cannot be measured by tonight or any other single match. Anyone trying to squeeze 20 years of greatness into the result of a single match clearly understands absolutely nothing about this sport or this man. What he has built cannot be torn down by one goal or damaged by a single painful defeat. I saw him salute the crowd despite everything. This is the same Leo I have known since he was just a boy. Even in his most difficult and painful moments, he immediately thinks of the people who supported him. This is not some empty gesture or duty, it is simply his nature. And these fans, who kept on cheering despite the immense bitterness of this defeat, they know exactly what they have in him, and they know what he gave them cannot be measured by a trophy. Then I saw his teammates sitting shattered on the turf. There is something beautiful in the middle of all this deep sorrow. These players did not just cry for the trophy, they cried for him. Desperately wanting to give him this perfect ending, they failed at the very last second. This is a level of love you cannot buy, and it rarely exists in modern locker rooms. Soccer can be cruel in ways that are nearly impossible to put into words. It gives and it takes with absolutely no clear logic, but in the end, it is just a game we eventually forget, remembering something far more meaningful. We remember the person who made us feel something completely genuine. From that perspective, Leo won a very long time ago, and absolutely nobody can take that away. I know these words will not ease the pain tonight. In brutal moments like this, pain cannot be cured by soft words, simple comfort, or even love. But I want him to know that, for me and for millions of fans all over the globe, he has not lost a single thing that truly matters. Leo, if this somehow reaches you, you left this sport so much more beautiful than you found it. and that achievement is far bigger than any trophy lifted by anyone in history. The tears will dry, and this deep sadness will pass with time. But what you gave to soccer will remain long after the rest of us.